Wow, and we're live just like that. What's up, everybody? Sorry I was running a little bit late. As you all come in, please do me a solid. Hit the like button, share it out, all that kind of good stuff. I definitely do appreciate it. So anyway, I wanted to do this video for various reasons. It's kind of a love-hate thing that I have going on with Microsoft for the last, I'd say, year and a half, where you like some of what they're doing, but also I'm a little bit disappointed that things don't always seem to come out the way that that it really should, in my opinion. Hey, what's up, everybody? Like I said, make sure you guys hit that like button, share it out, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, the reason why I'm running a little bit late, I was watching the latest episode of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, right? And I was just like, holy cow, this is like the third episode, the best one yet, by the way. And that episode alone was better than The Last Jedi completely. So yeah, there's that. And I was just like, holy cow, this is pretty damn amazing. Yeah, I gotta say, I like it, man. I like that stuff. I like that show. It redeems some of the nonsense, in my opinion. But one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video was I wanted to talk about this. Project xCloud is getting exclusive games and Project Scarlet hardware. So I thought this was a bit of a hypocrisy thing. Again, I understand that it's just weird to me, right? Like, Xbox has been a box. It's an actual box, right? It's a console. And usually people buy these consoles for the exclusives, and I mean, yeah, multiplats are big too, but if you have good exclusives, people will buy your console and, play the exclusives and play the multiplats, and so it's kind of a win-win. Microsoft has this whole idea, and they'll tell you, oh, well, everything that comes out on Xbox, everything will be on PC, and then you see some stuff on PC that won't come to Xbox, so PC will still have its exclusives and stuff, and then you look at what xCloud is going to be doing, which is its own streaming thing, and apparently that's going to get its own exclusives too. So the only thing not allowed to have exclusives is the Xbox consoles themselves. PC, that's allowed to have exclusives from Microsoft. xCloud, that's allowed to have exclusives from Microsoft. In fact, you don't even need to pay online for those things, while you have to pay online for the console that gets no exclusives, which is very, very frustrating. And I understand that times change and stuff like that, but to me, it really shows you where their effort is going. Like, they got kind of bullied out of the console space, and it just seems like they don't care. It's like their efforts go into exclusives for PC, for, xCloud. Those are the things they talk about the most. So anyway, I linked this in the description below. You guys can check it out. Project xCloud getting exclusive games, according to Microsoft Corporate VP Kareem Chowdhury, who, as you guys know, is the guy who says it's a monster in the videos. So in terms of Project xCloud exclusives, we're in early talks with first and third parties, but we don't have any announcements to share. New content and IP take 18 months to 2 years to develop. Wow, those must be some like single A, double A type games. Anyway, he says the first thing that we're doing is just lifting and shifting content that doesn't require any development changes into the cloud. So right away with xCloud, we've got a platform that can run any of the 3,000 games you can run on an Xbox today. It's very interesting because they really have given no indication that they were planning on doing this. And with the lackluster results of Google Stadia at their launch, you have to wonder, like, why are they deciding to do this? Like, why wouldn't you put these games on Xbox too? It doesn't really make sense. And it's like, okay, it's almost like Phil Spencer and Microsoft realized, and they want people to use their damn cloud service. Let's be real here. All these companies, no matter what they say about quote-unquote options, this is how they want us to consume our games in the future. How far in the future, I don't know, but you'd be damn foolish to believe that they don't want everybody using the cloud to play their games. And the reason is numerous. There's numerous reasons. First of all, if cloud is your only option, they never have to put things on sale. They're not competing with physical. So, when you see these sales on physical stuff, they don't have to do that. You don't own anything. You always constantly need a connection, so you can't pirate anything. You can't modify anything. And you know what I'm saying? And they could take it away at a moment's notice. They really control. They got you by the balls, okay? So yeah, they want everybody to do this, okay? Even though they're just pushing this whole options thing right now, this is the way they want us to consume our games in the future, and that's why they're putting so much effort into this. So there's also more Project xCloud details as well. So we're waiting on some of this, which I find fascinating that xCloud would get exclusives. Kareem Chowdhury said that a new cloud-aware functionality was recently added to xCloud SDK, which is the software developer kit. If you didn't know what that is, that's basically so the game knows it's run at runtime if it's being streamed or not, enabling developers to make any changes that they want specific to streaming, things like changing the font size or changing some of their networking code to account for the fact that the server is in data center, which is very interesting. So I will say this. I've tried xCloud. Again, I don't have the best internet. I would say that I have kind of average internet to what people would have in the United States. I know a lot have better than me, but again, I've been hearing that Google Stadia has been having multiple problems, and that's with people with like 100 gigs down, 100 megs down, and 50 up, and those people are still having problems and pixelation and stuff like that. Whenever I see like these hardcore Xbox fanboys on Twitter and social media and stuff like that, they're all like in love with this xCloud stuff and their little phone. But the funny thing is, whenever they take the videos of themselves playing this stuff, it's at home under optimal conditions. It's definitely not on the road. It's definitely not on a bus or a train or anything like that. They're at home where they have freaking big screen 4K TVs and a 4K console or these big beast-ass PCs. It makes absolutely no sense to me why they would be like, man, look at this. It's so great. I'm playing on my phone at home. It's like, dude, you got a freaking huge TV, a PC, an X. Why are you playing it on this little 4.5-inch screen and acting like it's such a big revolution? It's not. It's really, really not. And the faster this stuff fails, the better it is for everybody. Happy Friday. What's up, everybody? Let's see. Hey, what's up, TLR9? CP says that is what they want, crap, not to control pricing per game. They want everyone on subscription service for many reasons. Yeah, this is exactly the problem that I was kind of pointing out. Dual Purpose, what's up? Yeah, one typical. We'll see. I mean, I might pop by there. We'll have to see how that goes. As you guys get in here, please like the video, share it out. It doesn't make sense to me. Again, you can't trade your games. You can't share your games. You can't really do much of anything with this stuff. So that to me is super surprising that they would want like anything exclusive. Obviously, they know that exclusives get people onto platforms, and so that's why you would do that. He also revealed that Project xCloud is going to eventually going to get upgraded with Project Scarlet hardware. It's going to be very interesting to see how this kind of works out in the future as well. Because if you didn't know, Xbox Project xCloud is going to be run on the One S's. So it's very interesting. So he says, we designed Project Scarlet with the cloud in mind as well. And just as you're going to see our console product family evolve with the next generation, the cloud is going to evolve with it. So, I always felt like the One S was sort of a weird thing to actually use for this, and obviously much, much less powerful than the Scarlet or even the X. I never understood that. So, it is a little bit weird. Oh, today is November 22nd, which is the anniversary of the 360 and the Xbox One. So yeah, that's very interesting to say the least. But yeah, so this is frustrating to me, and I would say it kind of pisses me off that it would get any kind of exclusive. Again, it's like I had this argument, I don't know if argument, but discussion with somebody on social media this morning about xCloud, and one of the things they're just like, yeah, there's all these billions of gamers on phones, and I agree. There is, but they're casual gamers, and most of them are playing stuff like Candy Crush or games that you download and can play. I think that there's going to be a lot harder time, and what we've seen from like Stadia so far with all the problems and people, there's not even enough people to get into a lobby, despite what Mooch says. That's I think a huge problem kind of going forward. But at the same time, it's like I don't understand if you have. Like, the people that are playing this stuff right now, I guess because it's new tech or whatever, I don't understand the thought behind playing this when you have all these consoles or PCs in your house and there's no exclusives to Stadia right now. So, yeah, I find that to be a little bit weird. Also, in this weird, crappy cloud stuff, it looks like Amazon is going to have their own cloud streaming thing. They're going to make an announcement next year. Now, the reason why I like this is because you guys remember like Rock Band and Guitar Hero and all that kind of stuff, right? Fun little stuff. Those games should have came out once every few years, and they'd probably still be popular, right? What happened? We got oversaturated. We got too much. We had too many knockoffs, and at the end of the day, that's what happened. They killed it off completely. Now what we're seeing with all these different, cloud streaming services, what Walmart might have one, Microsoft has one, Sony has one, you know what I mean? Google has one, like Ubisoft has one. Like when is it going to stop? And I think that all this stuff is going to point to an oversaturation point that'll probably kill it off. I just hope that doesn't have an ill effect on the console stuff, because no matter how much I stress this, people still like act like I'm stupid or they don't get it. There was video game crashes. This stuff can happen again. We could face that again. This streaming stuff has been around for over a decade, and particularly people in North America don't seem too keen on it. Yes, you could say, well, our internet's gotten better, but I was reading some of the different reviews on Stadia, and it's like 300 millisecond input lag on some of these games, and that's assuming that like you're running it on like a monitor or a TV that has little input lag as it is. Otherwise, you're looking at 400 or more milliseconds input lag. That's a huge amount of lag, and those are single player games. It was like Shadow of the Tomb Raider was one of the ones that they were doing, and it was just so interesting to see just how weird it is or whatever. Gunplay says they need to ditch the streaming and make a handheld, to be honest. Well, listen, the people that are all into this streaming stuff, and as you guys could join in, please hit the like button and share it. I would appreciate it. Maybe we can get 100 likes really quick here today. I think that would be kick-ass. But it just for me, the way that I've seen this, it just seems like a real weird situation where the exclusives can come for everything else but the console, and I'm not a real fan of that. So hopefully it's something that they can actually kind of fix and get working a lot better or whatever. I just feel like it's it's weird. Again, like here's the thing, State of Decay 2. This is another piece of breaking news for today. That game, it's bad. I don't like it. But it's an Xbox or Microsoft exclusive. It's only on Windows Store and Xbox. And now it gets a Steam release. And people go, oh, well, it was already on PC. Well, that's like saying, well, it's already on Xbox, so that's a console. So, well, you might as well put it on PlayStation 4 and Switch as well, because it's already on console. What people don't understand is Steam is to Windows Store what PlayStation is to Xbox. It's a different platform. Microsoft doesn't have any control over that platform. They're just a third-party publisher. And so, yes, that kind of stuff, it just really goes to show you kind of where their head's at and what they want to do. And that's a little bit unfortunate. So, for me personally, I just feel like it's a little bit of a mistake. And, while I didn't like the game to begin with, I just can't get next to that. It's just one of those things that sort of pisses me off. But at the end of the day, I guess people are going to like what they're going to like, and they're going to do what they want to do. Microsoft seems to have a clear-cut plan. Just when I start to think, hey, it's not so bad, they kind of go and screw things up and sort of get things to a situation like we're facing right now. And again, it just kind of is what it is. But there's quite a bit of other news as well that we can talk about. I actually wanted to do a long-form video on this. But more options, one typical. I see it. Handheld, listen, the people that are playing this stuff don't even own handhelds or anything. So I always find that kind of be weird. The people that are like supporting xCloud and all this kind of stuff, they don't even have like handhelds or anything like that, like a 3DS or a Vita. It's like, if this stuff was such great options, by the way, they'll go, whoa, low cost or whatever, but you need a mid-tier phone or tablet, which are more expensive than a Vita or a 3DS, and people didn't bother with those. And those games, by the way, were specifically made for the handheld market. I can't imagine, I had an argument with somebody again today on Twitter, like I said, and I was like, well, people are going to have to bring, an extra phone battery and a controller and a thing to hook up the controller to your phone, and, it's going to be a big hassle. And he responded with, well, you don't need it. You can use touchscreen. It's like, these games are made for controllers, right? This is the problem. They're made for controllers. They aren't going to translate well into switching it over to using touchscreens. It's not going. You're going to be at a huge disadvantage. So, I just felt like that was a little bit of a kind of a ridiculous statement. And at the end of the day, I just feel like, this whole cloud thing, and people are, it's kind of frustrating too. Not a knock on Mooch or anybody, but it is a little bit frustrating when, we see a situation where people are like wholeheartedly backing this stuff. It's almost like backing the end of consoles, because like I said earlier, that's what it's coming down to. Like, we're going to see these companies are testing this for a reason, and they can talk about options all they want, but at the end of the day, the same thing with the SAT edition, right? They're testing that to see if they can release like disc-free versions of these consoles, and thankfully they kind of bombed and didn't do well. So I just don't understand it. Hopefully one day we'll see people kind of get their heads out of their asses and sort of understand it, that this is them trying to kill it. And before people go, oh, well, it's the future, old man, quit being such a dinosaur. It's like, excuse me for wanting the best performance and a one-to-one movement. Like, I buy a TV that has as little input lag in a gaming mode, and, and I prefer it to be that way. I don't want my inputs to have to go hundreds of miles to some data center to move my character, okay? Because no matter how good your internet is, that's not going to be instantaneous. There's always going to be some kind of problem, particularly in like a multiplayer space. And so that's not how I choose to consume my games. I also want to be able to do what I want. I'm not a big modder, but if I want to mod my games or, game preservation, what about that? Like, I've got hundreds and I've got thousands of games, I would say, between, NES, Super Nintendo, Genesis, Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, 2, 3, Xbox 360. I've got thousands of games, right? That's game preservation. We see this all the time now. People are buying games, and then 3 years later, there's a license in that game that expires, and so they pull it off the store. Well, guess what? If you have it, you can still play it. But you're not going to be able to play it in these streaming setups because it's not going to be allowed. They're not going to allow that to happen. So I keep telling people that, this is going to be a very, very big problem going forward. And again, a lot of people just sort of, blow me off or pretend like I'm an idiot or whatever. And I get it, but it's just like, damn, can we please just have a situation where people can be smarter than that? And, and I think that would be probably the best thing that you could do. Now, here's the thing. PlayStation 5, Xbox Scarlet. These things are coming. We're going to get consoles, even though it's a known fact. It came out, I think, yesterday. Phil Spencer did an interview, and he was talking about how they weren't even sure if they were going to come out with a next-gen console. Speaking of Scarlet, they had discussed not doing that, by the way. Now we have this bit of information where the PS5 is actually supposedly ahead of Xbox Scarlet in terms of actual in-game performance, which is surprising because I would have bet most of my money that Scarlet would have had much better, game performance and stuff like that. But again, supposedly also, which keep this with a grain of salt, the PS5 dev kits are more mature and they've been in the hands of developers longer, so that could be a bit of one of the reasons as well. Developers have received development kits for a good while now, according to this, and it seems like Sony's console, the PS5, is currently ahead in terms of frame performance and overall game performance. This is according to a person who has actually leaked quite a bit of new information recently in terms of game performance. He notes how this could have to do with the fact that the PlayStation 5 development hardware and software are in a more advanced state, and he later confirmed this is based off dev kit performance. He says, right now, game performance is better on PS5. I believe it is probably because PS5 development hardware and software are in a more advanced state. I fully expect Scarlet to close that gap once they ship more mature dev kits and software. It must be said, since software, not hardware, is a traditional Microsoft area of expertise, it's very possible that they could ultimately deliver more advanced DirectX development software in the end, allowing games to run better on Scarlet even if the hardware is less capable. So basically saying Microsoft might have to rely on quote-unquote secret sauce, DX12, It's doing it, guys. DX12. So basically saying that Microsoft is going to have to rely on some tricks and some secret sauce and things like that to get to catch up to what the PlayStation 5 is going to be able to do. So this also says the console specs are likely finalized at this point, so it's going to be very interesting to see if the gap will indeed be reduced or if it will be likely not, if they're going to need some kind of software updates and things like that. So that I found to be very, very interesting and something that could be, could come back to kind of bite Microsoft in the butt. I've kind of stated this multiple times in the past, okay? Xbox absolutely 100% cannot be behind in the area of of power. And the reason why I believe they can't be behind in the area of power is very, very simple. You have a company which had the worst exclusive games and the least amount of exclusive games for a generation that I've ever seen, right? The quality just wasn't there. So people already are untrusting of your product, right? You came out with an underpowered console that was more expensive at the beginning. Then you came out with 2 more consoles later on, and then you announced another new console before you even announced any new AAA exclusives. So people are going to be wary. So everybody is already on board with Sony for their exclusives, and I feel like that's something that Microsoft is going to have to earn from gamers. They're going to have to earn that, okay? And will they be able to do that? I'm not 100% sure that they'll be able to do that. It's going to take a lot of trust. So with that, you want to have some advantage, and it's advantage to have more powerful console at launch. If these consoles launch on the same day or within a week of each other, people might go, well, the Scarlet is more powerful, so it'll play multiplats better, and we mostly play multiplats, which is a true statement, right? So that might give people a little bit of an urge to buy a Scarlet. Now, if the PS5 plays multiplats better and also has all those great exclusives, then that's going to be a huge problem for Microsoft going forward, and that could be a definite problem. T-Rock says, streaming games like losing your virginity, you want to try it everywhere at first, but after the newness is gone, the couch is where it's at. Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. I agree. I think that, a lot of these fanboys that just go hard in the paint for Microsoft or whatever are just kind of setting themselves up later. One Typical says, I think at this point it's confirmed that Microsoft won't return to its roots. I understand people believe they are innovating, but I don't know if it's worth having it. There's no incentive. I agree 100%. It could be a big problem. CP says, crap, I agree with your point. The problem is that companies are not giving options for streaming. If all of them do it, then it forces everyone to move in that type of solution. Well, they all want to do it and maybe cut out the middleman, so that would be a little bit of a problem. Zero Games for me says, if Scarlet is weaker than PS5, Xbox is really done. This could be a big problem. Like I pointed out to, I don't know for sure if that's the case, but isn't it funny that we've heard people from Game Informer and like people like Colin Moriarty, a lot of these people are saying that the PS5 is indeed faster and has better game performance. Now, what does that mean exactly? I'm not 100% sure, but it doesn't sound like it'd be good news for Microsoft. You know what I mean? Futura says, I doubt Scarlet is weaker. Well, we don't know, but we keep seeing all this kind of stuff. Ice Queen Gaming says, hi, Crap, did you see Twitter about Death Stranding being up for Game of the Year? I saw people freak out about it, right? They attacked Jeff Keighley, the host, claimed him of being biased, even though he has absolutely nothing to do with the games that are picked. Everybody has to realize that there's an advisory board there. Jeff is on the advisory board with Phil Spencer, by the way. So it's not like those guys are the ones picking it. There's 80 media members in the panel, and those are the ones who nominate the games. I've been saying this entire year, especially as we got later in the year, that it seems like it's been a bit of a lackluster year for games. And then when you see a game like Control, or you see Resident Evil Remake 2, which I thought was great, but it's a remake. I don't really. I am of the kind of feeling that remakes shouldn't make, shouldn't make the cut for that. But let it. It is what it is. They let it in. Death Stranding, I feel like, is a unique piece of artwork, and that's something that can't be kind of forgotten about. Jerome says, got my Stadia yesterday. It is great. Played 10 hours, no issues. It's fantastic. Comes with Samurai Showdown and Destiny 2, both fantastic. Well, good for you, man. Good for you. CP says, I personally don't worry about hardware. Most likely these consoles will be almost identical in performance. I agree. It's probably not going to be as a big a deal as we've seen in the past. What's up, Snakes? I appreciate you stopping by. Everybody, over 200 people watching. Please hit that like button. Let's get me up at over 100 likes. I would appreciate that. It would definitely mean a lot. Thank you guys so much. Clozazo says, look at Borderlands 3 and Call of Duty. They run worst on the X and the Pro. It will continue next gen, especially Microsoft hasn't really done a good job of talking to developers and getting their stuff in the hands of developers and getting them to kind of buy into what Microsoft is trying to accomplish. That could be a big problem. I do feel like Phil Spencer has some decent ideas, and then he has ideas that sounds like he just pulled them out of thin air, and they don't make much sense. So that could be a definite problem going forward as well. Like, I'm not saying that like Xbox is gonna make money because they got their hand in everything, but will it make the kind of the hardcore fans happy? I think that's going to be a big problem to see if that's actually going to be something. Ned Flanders says, what's up? Got to get someone like me on to get an Xbox to get a Xbox to PC perspective on with you. Yeah, I don't with this whole OBS thing. I only know how to do it with myself on here. No matter what I tried, I couldn't get other people to be heard through it. So I don't know, man. And it's not like since I stopped doing like Xbox Nation and stuff, I might pick it up next year. We'll see how it goes. I mean, clearly the channel isn't in great shape. So I'm gonna try to work on some stuff and do some things to kind of draw some people back. We'll see what happens. Let's see. Hold on. White Knight says the future is streaming again. Why should we accept that if we don't want it to be the case, right? I think that would be a problem. Rich says, hey, crap, so you think after all these news that Scarlet is weaker than PS5? I don't know if that's going to be the case. Like, again, we're hearing this a lot, and where there is, smoke, there's fire or whatever, but it does seem a lot like lately anyway that the PS5 is going to be a little bit better. I just think that it's going to be a little bit of a problem. One of the things that I found was interesting was something that the PS5 is going to have, according to this new patent, and I found this to be very interesting. Is according to this news, the PlayStation 5 is going to actually have a huge focus on user-generated content. It's obviously going to be a renewed focus on user-generated content, judging from a recent patent. The new patent, which has surfaced on the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, was actually details a new system called scene tagging, which is going to be used to characterize user-created content associated with gameplay. A system that is likely going to be implemented for the PS5, which is a method for implemented and using scene tagging, a method comprising generated user content with a video game, recording of an event that occurred within a game being played on a user computing device. So basically, I think that they're going to do for what they did for like game sharing, or not game sharing, but like media sharing, like pictures and screenshots and video, and they're going to do that with user-generated content. That's going to be the next, I guess, big thing for Sony. I don't know how big it's going to be, but it's going to be very interesting to see how this kind of works out. It sounds rather interesting, providing players a new way to connect with the community on a specific games, and it's likely related to a gaming project that has been confirmed to be in development by the recently established Sony AI division. So that's going to be very interesting to see how this really comes about. And then speaking of Sony's AI division, which Sony's been in the news a lot lately. Clearly, 100+ million consoles sold. They continue to absolutely dominate in a lot of aspects. Obviously, the Switch is doing its best to kind of catch up, but the Switch being a hybrid really kind of helps out that in a lot of aspects as well. And I think that the fact that we keep seeing more and more of these games announced for the Switch the way we are, even though they're like even older games, just goes to show you that people are kind of interested in playing games on the go, but I think that they want to actually have those games on a cartridge locally and play them that way, as opposed to taking a kind of risk, which, by the way, like if you're out and about with just 4G, Project xCloud can't even load on my phone. So that's a bit of a problem going forward, I think, for Microsoft. But Sony's AI division established a critical business, which gaming and sensor business, which I think is very interesting as well. And they also have this very interesting like AI setup, right? Like that kind of blows my mind that they're able to like do so much to be able to enhance video games and gaming in general. So I do find that to be very interesting. They announced yesterday the foundation of a brand new internal division dedicated to development of AI-based technologies. And and this has direct impact of the PlayStation as well. They want to be able to do different things with AI. Their purpose is to fill the world with emotion through the power of creativity and technology. It's going to combine world-class fundamental research with development with Sony's unique technical assets. And they're going to be using it for games, music, and movies. So absolutely, it's going to be used for gaming, and I think that that's very interesting. If you look at what Microsoft is doing with like Flight Simulator, I couldn't give two craps about Microsoft Simulator, but the whole reasoning behind this and the whole thing that is being made, they're taking advantage of like Microsoft AI and like the cloud and stuff like that. So if it can help you build a game, I hope that it actually helps build games and not like just simulator type games like, you know, flight sims or whatever, because I think those type of games are boring. But yeah, it is very, very interesting to see how these kind of things work out and the type of people that are interested in them, just to see everything kind of come about and stuff like that. So Rich says, hey Crap, do you think xCloud will destroy PS Now and next gen? No, I think all that streaming stuff, like somebody said earlier in the chat, all that streaming stuff is really just a something new, and people are willing to try it out. But I think that there's going to be such a problem with how with how this stuff works, that they're just gonna, you know, not use it. Like, okay, I remember being excited when I bought a PlayStation Vita, right? I was gonna take it when I went somewhere, blah blah blah. I've literally played my Vita maybe 30 hours in the years that I've had it. Okay, so it's not something that, you know, it's like you get excited for this stuff and then it comes out and it's not great, right? That's a bit of a problem. As everybody joins in, please hit the like button. Guapzilla says, hey Crap, keep your head up about the channel. A large percentage of your drop off can be attributed to 2019 being a slow gaming wise, and most news are unfounded rumors. That and your maturation out of fanboyism. Well, listen, I'm not planning on quitting. I've got really good ideas. I'm still kind of stuck or whatever. I think the knee, if you guys didn't know, so basically what happened to me was I did like an MCL sprain a few weeks ago on my left knee. It started to heal up. It was still a little bit injured. I would say it's about 85% healed now. But I got like I'm wearing like a brace on my knee. But I tried to walk a little bit too soon, and I'm a big guy. A lot of people don't know. I'm like, you know, I'm 6'5", like 340 pounds. So I tried to walk a little bit too soon, and I think I put pressure on my left foot, which, you know, because it had to support the left knee more, and things were a little bit shaky there. And I think I ended up either spraining my foot or kind of hurting the ankle type foot in there, because it's, you know, it's swollen a little bit in there at the joints and stuff. So I ended up like doing more damage, which is kind of a setback. So I've literally not been able to work or anything like that for, you know, a few weeks. And Monday I'm going to go in and see and see how it goes. So I'm hoping that you know, I got a walking boot and stuff like that. It's just I can't. It's just so painful to walk. The knee isn't the problem anymore. It's like the foot area. It's taken forever, and you know, it's very frustrating. So sometimes doing these, if people have noticed that I've been doing a little bit more live streams and stuff like that, that's the reason. Literally, I'm sitting here like I'm watching The Mandalorian or whatever, and I feel like a bum. You know what I mean? Because I can't really do much, and you know, I'm like, hey, maybe I'll do a live stream. You know, that'll perk me up, because sometimes it's fun to just kind of interact with you guys and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's sort of where I'm at or anything. I don't really, you know, I don't really, you know, I have a problem with it. It's like, if I have to start over, I'll start over. I realize that I probably haven't put the type of effort in that I should or that I could. So you know, there's things that I could do, and again, I feel like, you know, I'm a more entertaining type person when it comes to video games and stuff like that. So. You know, I'm going to keep doing my thing, and I'm going to keep trying to, you know, just express myself, as long as there's some people. Now, do I wish that people would, you know, like a video or something? Absolutely. You know, I still take time out to do those, and so it does kind of suck when people kind of just ignore them or whatever. They don't get, you know, there's also problems with YouTube, which one of YouTube's big problems is they're not exactly promoting stuff, and they're not, you know, they went through all this stuff with, you have to pick whether your content is for like kids or not, which, you know, again, my stuff isn't specifically for kids, so that's okay with me. But you know, like that really kind of hampers your stuff. There's a new terms of service that's coming out on December 10th. That's going to probably hamper a lot of creators as well. So there is some problems and stuff with content creation, and it kind of sucks or whatever. You know what I mean? So I hope that I can continue to do some good stuff or whatever. But I do want to talk about this, which I felt was very interesting because it's an opposite take on what we have heard about the PlayStation 5 and actually even the Xbox Scarlet about the solid-state drives, which I'm not sure I believe this. This is according to Remedy Entertainment technical director. He says the PS5 solid-state drive might not necessarily translate into much quicker load times. So obviously one of the key features to the PS5 and even the Xbox Scarlet, again, I've been pushing this a lot. I absolutely hate load times. I love the new Star Wars game, right? I've been playing this game a lot. The load times are kind of crappy. There's other games where the load times are incredibly crappy. And one of the things that the few things that people can brag about with Stadia and some of these cloud things is the fact that, hey, you can start up your games almost instantly, which I guess that's cool and it's like pretty immersive or whatever. But, and there's no like wait time to play. So this is supposed to be a big selling point of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Scarlet next year. So the fact that this guy's saying, hey, that might not be the case is kind of crappy or whatever. So one of the main features, according to Mark Cerny, is they have a custom designed solid-state drive, and he actually showcased the PS4 game Spider-Man running on a PS5 to demonstrate how much quicker the load time is, like less than a second, by the way, where it takes 20 seconds on the PS4 Pro. But speaking with official PlayStation Magazine, Remedy technical director Micah Vicala pointed out that it might not be this straightforward if PS5 games start using much more data. He says, if games would stay the same in terms of scope and visual quality, it'd make loading times be almost unnoticeable and restarting a level would be almost instant in the PlayStation 5 games. However, since more data can now be used, there can also be cases where production might be cheaper and faster when not optimizing content, which will lead into having to load much more data, leading back into a situation where you have about the same loading times as today. That is a dagger in the heart, right? Because basically what he's saying is third-party games might not utilize these solid-state drives. Again, how bad is that, right? Like, already I struggle with a reason to upgrade, right? I'm going to get a PS5, no doubt. Like, that's a done deal. PS5 is the way I'm going. Xbox Scarlet, like, I think Xbox Scarlet will be fine. It'll be a nice console, but again, look at the games they're putting out, like the Bleeding Edge, Battletoads, Tell Me Why. Even though I like the look of Everwild, I'm not going to justify getting a new console. All these games are so cartoony. They don't take advantage of it. Like, you could play them. I wonder if they're cartoony to be able to play still on the original Xbox One and the S still, because I can't think of any other reason to keep your games so just so graphically beautiful, you know what I mean? Like realistic. Like, why is that such a hard thing to do? I just don't understand why they would do it. This guy from Remedy also compared the situation with the CPU and CPU or GPU enhancements, saying developers could use the increased PS5 power to double frame rates. Sure, but if they add more detail, then the frame rate will likely remain the same as the previous generation. So he's saying that, hell, frame rates might not even be that the 60 that we've been promised, like the Xbox One X is already I'll be honest, is already a pretty capable machine. Some stuff you get 1080p 60, some stuff it's 4K 30 or whatever. But if he's saying, buy this $550 next-gen console and you might not even get much of a difference, what are people going to do at that point? He says it's almost the same. You could do things faster or you could add more content and run things the same 30 frames per second as before. Oftentimes it's that. So that's really, really interesting to hear. And his colleague, actually, head of communications of Remedy, added that the system's power doesn't really have anything to do with frame rate, in fact. He says, we game developers can make 60 frames per second even on PlayStation 1. It's always about compromise. Are you focusing on visuals, physics, AI, and such things, or purely frame rate? The new PS5 hardware will be powerful, yes, but also expectations are that graphics will be even more detailed, more destruction, etc., and it's always a compromise is where to focus. So some developers, the way that I take this, are going to definitely be pushing the idea that they don't care about frame rate as much. You know, they don't care about doing 60 frames, which I feel really kind of bummed out about that. If I would get next gen hardware, I'd really rather prefer 60 frames. They should be powerful enough to be able to accomplish these things. I just think it's a different ball game, in particular with like racing games and with like shooters, third person and first person. And you know, I just feel like everything, if it's a steady 60, just works so much better, in my opinion, than that does. So, yeah. Gunplay says cartoony games at 8K, 120 frames. Let's go. Ashton A says, crap, how much do you love? Tell me why. You can't wait to play it, right? Listen, I could get into the reasons why this is part of the whole Microsoft thing that annoys me. Like, I'm not trying to knock anything, but it's like there's a way to do things, and I feel like shoving stuff down people's throats isn't going to make anybody more accepting of anything, and it's actually just probably going to do the opposite. And so, you know, that's just that's all I could say about that. O-Snake says, think about it like this. If an up-and-coming singer only had a concert in the same place over and over, their audience will never grow. You got to get on the other folks' show to grow. Yeah, I agree with that. What's my opinion on Death Stranding? I like Death Stranding. I like Death Stranding. You know what? I think Death Stranding is one of the more interesting one of the more interesting games that I've played this entire generation. I get why some people wouldn't like it, but I also think that there's a lot of unnecessary hate on it just because people assume that Kojima gets a bit of a rub, and you know, maybe that's true. I don't know, but to me, I feel like the more you play it, like if you play it right now, it's a different kind of world than if you would have played it before it actually released. So the developers, I don't think, got a really accurate representation of the game when they played it before it actually released. So to me personally, I just think that it's a really, really good game, and it's such an interesting game. Chris says, I just stopped vaping. If you vape, loading screens are your friends. I hear you, man. I don't do any of that stuff, but it's just one of those things that's a bit of a problem. O-Snake says, yeah, I read your one comment. Hold on, I'm going to see if I can find your other one if you had it. Hey, crap, do you... Yeah, no, I don't see your other comment, but I did read your one comment. What's your... Great show today, buddy. Miss your Wednesday and Friday shows. I do understand those sometimes. Yeah, listen, man. Here's the thing. I can't get up. I can't really get out. I just feel kind of closed off. I can't work with my dogs. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not making any money through that because somebody else has to cover that for me, which comes out of the money that I would normally make. You know, and I already wasn't like a big money maker anyway. I do that mostly stuff just kind of for the love of the animals and training and just helping animals. And so it's been rough and a little bit depressing. So, you know, me doing you know, 2 shows, one at 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday and then one 7 to 9 on Fridays wasn't really going to work out. Like M&C is different because that's in the morning, so it like frees up my evening still, but it's like in the evenings, because most of the day I spend my time alone. You know, in the evenings my fiance and stuff is here, and so, you know, I want to spend time with her, and it's like, you know, you just feel kind of bummed out by it. So, hey, everybody, hit the like button. Very, very close to 100 likes. Let's get those likes going. I would really appreciate it. Game Trailers is trying to owe you another game. Listen, he offered to come on my show once, and I was like, dude, if you ever came on the show, right, if you ever came on my show, you'd end up owing me your house by the time it was all said and done, because he just bets and bets and bets, and he bets with his heart instead of his head, and I just really feel like that's, you know, that's a bit of a problem. You know, that's a bit of a problem. You know, I just think that that's a real issue. So, you know, I was also talking about this where Xbox console streaming is depending on your upload speed. So again, that's a real problem for me because I have a really crappy upload speed. Mine is like less than 2 at most of the time. Sometimes it's 1. So that's why it takes me a pretty long time to actually be able to accomplish anything, like upload videos and stuff. Like, I would love to do like 1080p 60 frames per second videos. The problem is I just don't have the you know, I just don't have the upload speeds, and it doesn't seem like they're gonna actually be able to upgrade us anytime soon. So That's always going to be an issue for me personally. I do hope that it's something that they can fix at some point or the other. If you guys are just joining me and you're wondering what's up with the title, I covered this early on, but I'll cover it again real quick. When it comes to exclusives, right? Phil Spencer has told us a lot of stuff. A couple of years ago at the launch of Halo Wars 2, he did an interview at that Inside Xbox, and he said there's going to be games that make sense to come to Xbox consoles only, and there's going to be games that make sense to come to PC only, etc., etc. Now, they've kind of changed their mind on that. Everything that releases on Xbox also releases on PC, and that still hasn't stopped PC from getting some exclusives. So PC continues to get exclusives from Microsoft, while it doesn't really happen that way for Xbox, the console itself, the thing that Xbox really is, right? And we're also the ones that are paying yearly for gold and stuff like that. Now, the problem that I keep seeing is now they're talking about xCloud getting its own exclusive games. And the reason why is because they want people on that platform. They want, at any rate, at any cost, they want people on xCloud. They want people to use that. Again, you can't buy used games on xCloud. You're forced to pay full price, and there's no real competition there to keep things lower. You can't mod anything. You don't actually own anything. They can take away the license anytime they want. It's really, really just a bad situation. And I just feel like that's something that could come back to haunt Xbox fans. Why would xCloud get specific exclusives and people with Xbox consoles not? Like, I don't understand that at all. I just feel like that's kind of a slap in the face to Xbox fans that, hey, that's not exactly right. I just wish that they would kind of make up their mind a little bit and give Xbox fans, like for me personally, okay, if you want to put Halo on PC, okay, but hopefully there's no crossplay there, because I feel like that would be a complete and utter joke, especially if they handle it the way they handled Gears 5, which is you can't turn it off in unranked modes, right? Like, I'm decent in Gears, so I could probably get away with playing ranked. I suck at Halo. I would absolutely hate to play Halo and be stuck to play against people with keyboard and mouse. Like, Microsoft, you figure, would do things the way that these other companies are, like Call of Duty, right? If you play Call of Duty, it matches you by input device, or you can turn off crossplay. Fortnite's the same way. So Microsoft are the ones that aren't allowing that, and for whatever reason, maybe it's because there's a lack of people that are actually playing their games right now. But I just feel like it's really sort of a beta. Exactly, Wazzy says it feels like a slap in the face. Straight Duval says more fear mongering. What can I say, Straight Duval? I'm a radical. I don't know if this is fear mongering when they're saying exclusives can come to Stadia that aren't gonna, can come to xCloud that aren't gonna be on the Xbox console, and there's exclusives on PC that aren't on Xbox consoles. How is that fear-mongering when they're the ones saying it? Like, maybe I'm confused on what fear-mongering is, but why exactly is it okay for that to be the case? Like, maybe you can help me understand that, and I'll understand it a little bit better, but I don't understand how that's okay as Xbox fans. If every Xbox game has to be on PC, why doesn't every PC game have to be on Xbox? Especially since supposedly we can use keyboard and mouse now on Xbox. So wouldn't it make it where you could play all those PC games? And why would xCloud get exclusive games? So I can understand that you probably watch YouTubers that blow smoke up your ass and tell you Xbox is great and they love this about Xbox and it's the most fantastic thing ever and they're going to own everybody. The truth of the matter is not true. That's just not true. Xbox has a very little pool outside of the U.S. and the U.K., so they're never going to top Sony in these areas because the world recognizes PlayStation as the best brand in gaming right now. So they have the pedigree too, man. They've been there for a very, very long time. All of their consoles sell over 100 million with the exception of the PS3, and that came so close, like 90 million, even though it started off at such an expensive price point. So you got to figure that Sony knows what they're doing. Again, I think that it's just one of those things. Rock Solid Gaming says, I just got on here. What's going on with Xbox and crossplay games? Well, they want everything crossplay, right? Like Microsoft wants everything kind of crossplay. They want everything to really sort of take advantage of everything. Straight Duval says, has it happened yet? No, it hasn't happened yet. But, you know, again, when they're saying they're looking into this and talking with their first party and third party to do these exclusives, that's a problem. That's a problem for me. I'm the YouTuber who's blowing smoke. Gotcha. So the link that I linked below where the president of the Cloud Gaming who's saying they're looking into doing this isn't the one blowing smoke, but it's me, right? I'm the one that's blowing smoke. Gotcha. Listen, dude, I'll tell you this much right now. I will blast your favorite YouTuber right out the ass with my facts. There's nobody that can compare to me, right? Like, I might not have the biggest audience, et cetera, but nobody brings more legit opinions to this stuff to me. I'm not making shit off this. I have no reason to lie to anybody about this stuff, right? These are my concerns as a hardcore Xbox fan, or at least I was a hardcore Xbox fan, right? Nobody's going to bring nobody's going to bring these opinions like me. Everybody's going to continue to kiss Microsoft's ass because it makes them money. If you guys see the super chats popping, you guys see that they make huge money by blowing smoke up your ass. Like, don't fall for it all you want, man. That's not my money, right? But I can guarantee you that Xbox is going to probably do a lot of things that is going to require a lot of damage control next generation, and it's going to be funny. Listen, I'll tell you what, I get a good laugh, right? When something bad happens, right? When Xbox announces something like this, or like they want to have exclusives on their freaking cloud platform that aren't on Xbox, okay? That's bad news. They announced this. It's an announcement. I linked it. It's a freaking announcement. They're doing this. They're going to do this, right? Now, you'll have these clowns talk about how this is a big step for Microsoft and a huge news. And in the same breath, these same clowns are going to sit there and pretend like they aren't fanboys for Xbox. But in 1 second, they're like, yeah, we should all just enjoy gaming because it's just gaming, blah, blah, blah. And then the next thing, they're like, well, Outer Worlds will be great. The next game will be great. Sony dudes, thank you for buying so many Outer Worlds copies because you helped fund the second one that's going to be exclusive. They're not a fanboy, but then they prop up the fact that the second one's going to be exclusive. Get the fuck out of here. You don't know what the hell you're talking about, you damn fanboy. At least when I was fanboying, I did it right, and I admitted it, right? Like, this is a big problem in the whole scene nowadays, right? And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I get shit on for my titles, but everybody's got titles like, they're getting owned. They got put in their place. Megaton. Just owned the fanboys. Toxicity. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Like, this is stuff I was doing years ago, and that's not a knock on anyone in particular, so don't think that. But I'm just saying, it's a problem, like, across the board, man. Sometimes I'll look at some of these people's videos and stuff and get a real big laugh because everything's just a big, yup. Xbox is great, yup. Great. They're doing everything great. They're going to win next generation. Like, these people know Xbox aren't going to win next generation. There's no freaking way they're going to win next generation. Microsoft couldn't win next generation. If they had a 50 million console lead to start with, they wouldn't win next generation because they don't know what the hell they're doing. You have Phil Spencer talking like an idiot, okay? Phil Spencer's out there, trying to compare Netflix to Xbox Game Pass, right? Like, he was brought up in this, and I talked about this, I think, in a video. He recently did an interview, and he was talking about how Jim Ryan, for Sony, had said, you know what? Certain IPs that we have, the God of Wars, the Spider-Mans, those are too nice to put in PlayStation Now. Those are special, The Last of Us 2, those are special IP. We're not going to put those in PlayStation Now day and date. It doesn't make sense. They're going to get these huge, big launch events because they deserve that. And Jim Ryan is 125% right. Those are Gears of War, Halo, Forza. Those games deserve that. The fact that you put them in your budget-ass dollar service really, really devalues your games. I'm sorry, but that's just the damn truth. You put these games, your top-tier games, in there with the likes of Crackdown 3 and State of Decay 2 and Recore, and that's exactly what happened. We see that nobody cares about Gears 5. 2 months after launch, nobody gives a damn about Gears 5. It tanked in the NPD, came in at number 7, the worst ever. Judgment did better at launch, and then it totally went out of the top 20 by the second month. So again, Days Gone sold way more than Gears 5. People might think it's bad. Whatever. It got a 70, but people bought it because it was a good game. Microsoft screws themselves over, and then Phil Spencer compares it to something like Netflix. Now, if he wants to compare it to something, why not compare it to Disney Plus, okay? Disney Plus. Do you think Disney Plus is going to get Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9, day and date the day it releases in theaters? Hell to the no, it's not. And why is it not going to get day and date released with theaters, right? Because they want us to go out there and spend $20 a pop and make over $1 billion off of us going to the movies to see this movie. And then they also want us to double dip and pay their subscription service to watch it at home when it comes out, right? So they make you double dip. If you want to compare something to something, I'm the straight shooter, man. I'm the smart one. I know this is how stuff works. Phil Spencer is trying to be slick here, and everybody, and I see a lot of Xbox fans do this too. They try to compare everything to Netflix. It's like, do you not understand how much easier it is to make a show or a movie than it is to make a game? You've got to have a constant influx of content to be able to do anything in that realm, right? And Xbox doesn't have that. Even Phil Spencer in that interview, he's like, yeah, it's going to be 2-3 years or whatever, 2, 3, 4 years. I said this all along. I got called a fearmonger. For whatever reason, I'm a fearmonger because I'm saying what the facts are. Just look at the facts and you can see, look, even this new Everwild game by Rare, people told me Rare was working on something for years. Nope, it's in pre-production. Pre-freaking production. You're looking at 4 years away, right? That's the way most of this stuff is. Obsidian, they're probably in pre-production of something new. 4 to 5 years away. What's the initiative doing? They probably are still in pre-production. They might have just started. 4 to 5 years away. This is the problem that Microsoft is going to face, and the games that they have are these cartoony little mamby-pamby games that nobody gives a damn about. That's a real problem. The other problem is that everything is so convoluted that you've got people and you don't know where to go. You have people that, and I get it, all right? You buy something, right? And you spend $500 on an Xbox One X. You want to feel good about that purchase, okay? So you want to feel good about that purchase, so what do? You want to go, this is why people came to me originally. And I believed in Xbox like no other, okay? It wasn't bullshit when I was talking about this. I believed in it. I thought Microsoft, they were like, we spend $1 billion on exclusives, this, that, and the other thing. Nowadays, it's like people are celebrating the fact that they have no exclusives. Who the hell does that? Why would you celebrate? Xbox did okay, but they lost half their users from last generation. Who the hell celebrates this kind of stuff? I don't know who would actually go out there and celebrate that. It certainly isn't me. It certainly isn't me. Rock Solid Gaming says, I believe you PlayStation 5 will win the system war in 2020 until Xbox starts to step up their games. Here's the problem. By the time Xbox tries to start up their game, right, it's going to be the mid-gen. Are we going to get a mid-gen refresh next gen? What's going to be the deal right there? Okay. Hold on. Radical Hypothesis Gamer says, imagine if Blockbuster had bought Netflix. Well, listen, I think they would probably be better off, but also look at Netflix, how much money they lose. It's a constant in the red because they're constantly spending billions of dollars on content, and it's a constant money pit. So this is going to be the situation for Microsoft. And by the way, Netflix has 140 million subscribers. So you have to kind of take that into consideration as well. I don't think Xbox will ever get that because they don't have that many consoles out there, and there's not, even if you count the PCs, nobody that, a lot of those are the same, could be the same people. We don't really know, but PC people don't really want to pay subscriptions. Phone people don't really want to pay subscription. Right? I keep trying to say this, people, right? Straight Duval says, some cartoon games you play on PSVR. Listen, I've played games that are cartoon games on VR, but that's fine. But at the end of the day, Straight Duval, let me point this out. The last AAA exclusive that Microsoft announced was in 2015, okay? Everything that they've announced since then has been AA crap or cartoon looking. Sony has done a really good job of getting great-looking AAA new IP. Days Gone came out, right? You might point out to the Metacritic, and that's fine, but it's still a better Metacritic than most Xbox exclusives, even at 71, which should tell you a lot about Microsoft. A realistic, photorealistic game right there. Then they had stuff like Judgment. Then they had other stuff throughout the year as well. Now it's like a Shenmue 3. They had Death Stranding. Realistic looking games. So you can do a Concrete Genie or a Blood and Truth, and it's fine. It's fine because you have that mix of games. On Xbox's side, that's all you get. Like, I thought that their XO was okay, right? Pretty decent. But it's like when you look at the game type that they had, every single one is a cartoony CGI-looking game. None of them was anything realistic. Are Microsoft going after casual gamers? Are they going after, like, the kid gamers? Like, that's the question that I would have. This stuff, like VR is something that, VR is something that's new tech. It's kind of interesting, and it puts you in the game. And because the consoles aren't as powerful, they have to kind of do this type of thing to get the frame rate up, right? So, like, your comparison doesn't really work. You know, I'm just trying to point that out. Your comparison is crap because Sony has done such a bang up job of getting amazing games out of every genre. It's just going to be one of those things that you have to understand. And I understand it, man. You bought these games or whatever, okay? You bought these games. You bought these consoles. You believe that Xbox is onto something. And if you do, I'm not trying to say that you can't buy Xbox or you can't like Xbox. I think that's fine. What I'm saying is, don't be foolish into thinking that they're better than they are or whatever. Like, Microsoft has not put out quality games for years. I mean, you could say Gears 5 is quality. I would shoot that down in a second by pointing out that they're making you pay for a freaking animation that was free in every other Gears game. They turned Gears into a freemium game. They turned Forza Horizon into a games as a service with dailies and weeklies and just all this nonsense and dances, and they did the same with Gears. Like, what the hell happened to Xbox? We used to pick what we were: pro, hardcore, whatever, right? Like underground. You guys remember that? Now it's like they assume everybody's just like soup. They monitor your messages, for God's sake. They monitor your messages. You can't talk trash. You can't do anything. You literally can't do anything. They've turned to the most unhardcore platform I've ever seen. Even Gears 5, right, which is a good-looking game, they turned that kind of cartoony with the bright colors. And, like, Gears was like a dark and dingy game, and they turned it into, like, this cartoony-type-looking game, okay? Like, so you can't sit there and tell me, oh, there's no smoking in Gears. You know what I'm saying? We're going to drop Of War because we're going to casualize it. We're going to put in a boot camp and, all these microtransactions and try to get casuals into the game and drop the shotgun active reload bonus. Listen, everything that they're doing is to gain casual audiences, right? Like, you sit there and you defend that, but you don't realize that it's ruining your damn games. And putting them into Game Pass for $1, that's ruining games as well. That's a big problem. Like, listen, Microsoft, they're a smart company, but I think when it comes to games and the games themselves, they're too much caught up in, like, this whole suit mentality, right? Like, businessman mentality. You've got to give gamers what they want, and the rest will follow. If you had great content right from the start, then people would buy into your products. You wouldn't even have to worry about this stuff. Microsoft should have worried about getting their fans back, delivering great content, and stop with all this other nonsense right now, right? I just really wish that we would see that from Microsoft. Instead, what do we get? We get Tell Me Why and Grounded and Bleeding Edge, right? Like Flight Simulator. These games are just not good-looking games. And again, I don't understand the point of defending these titles, right? Like, you get, like, people defend these things like they're a badge of honor to defend, man. Listen, I'll defend God of War, that launch that Sony had last year, man, the God of War in Detroit and, Spider-Man. Like, that was a hell of a boom, 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 you know what I'm saying? Microsoft hasn't had that this entire generation, and people want to act like, like I said, I've said this before, Xbox fans act like the Sony 80 rated games are like 60 rated games, and they treat Xbox games that are rated like 60s like they're 80s. Like, people, I've never seen so many people damage control stuff like Crackdown 3. That game is absolute and utter garbage. We were promised so much with that game, and nobody ever calls out Phil Spencer for his bullshit and all these lies that they've done, right? They promised the power of the cloud, destruction, fully destructive environments. What did we get? 5-minute matches where nothing, you didn't have time to destroy anything, right? They shrunk down the city so much. This is the company that we're believing in. This is the company that we think is going to deliver us to this greatness next gen. I don't see it. I don't believe it. I think that it's you know, again, I just kind of at a loss for words when I see some of this stuff and the way that people go about. And I know it might ruffle a few feathers, and that's fine. People will go, "Oh, who's crap talking about here?" Well, I'm talking about anybody. It doesn't freaking matter at this point, okay? Like, I don't have any problems with anybody, but it's like sometimes the smoke that gets blown up people's asses just for money is absolutely, utterly ridiculous, okay? And, you know, and people should really kind of maybe feel bad for themselves. The reason why I had to switch what I was doing, a lot of people assume it was for views. I was doing perfectly fucking fine, right? I could have, you know, but there came a time where I'm doing videos about Scarlet and how great it's going to be, and I don't believe in the damn product, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not even getting a Scarlet. And then I'm like, okay, I have to fundamentally change, even if I have to start over, okay? Even if people abandon me, which they have, right? Because why would, you know, I built up so many subscribers talking positively about Xbox, and now I think Xbox is shit, and how many people are going to stick around and want to hear me talk about how shit they are, right? And how PlayStation seems to have a little bit better grasp on hardcore gamers, right? Why would anybody do that? So, of course, they're going to leave for the person that's going, hey, Xbox is the best box, you know what I mean? And copying shit that I was saying 4 years ago. Like, this is just the truth of the matter, and if you look hard enough, you can see it. And I think even some people are getting tired of that too, right? Like, you see these roundtables where everybody's like, Phil's the guy. They're doing great stuff. I can't wait to see what they do. The games are coming, but they're saying they're coming, which, yeah, okay, but when? You know, 3-4 years from now, are we getting a mid-gen upgrade? Like, nobody's asking or saying the right things. They're just pacifying their audience, and I feel like that's kind of shitty and wrong. To be honest with you, like, I can't live with myself doing that, so I had to change up what I did. And it ruined me, you know, ruined my channel, but I couldn't live with myself doing the other thing anymore, right? It just is what it is, you know what I'm saying? Like, I made my choice. I do less stuff now. It just kind of is what it is, but I also couldn't go out there lying to everybody, telling you how great stuff or like, oh, man, that was a brilliant E3. Like, that E3 sucked, okay? That, you know, most of their Inside Xboxes are terrible. Their hosts are terrible, right? Their, like, Game Pass is okay, but it really ruins their AAA games. It doesn't make them as special. So, yeah, I'm sorry. You know, a lot of people hate me now. A lot of people think I'm a fearmonger or radical or, you know, whatever. You know what I mean? An extremist. I get called it all. It kind of is what it is. Everybody's like, oh, crap sucks, blah, blah, blah. But when I point out that the choices they made for Gears 5 was going to make the game irrelevant after a short amount of time, and it's sitting almost out of the top 30 on most played games 2 months after launch, and we see everybody complaining about these microtransactions and the casualization of it, then they look back at me and go, crap was right. Or when everybody was hyping up that terrible Blair Witch game and counting it as an exclusive, and when I'm out there pointing out, hey, this thing's going to come to PlayStation. You guys realize that, right? Microsoft is just so full of it that they announce it as an exclusive, world premiere, exclusive for 2 months. You know what I mean? And now all of a sudden it's like nobody cares. Everybody just forgets that they pretended that they hyped that crap up. Okay? Like, at least you know stuff on the Sony side is going to stay there if they're the smaller stuff. Even if it doesn't have to be like the most highly rated stuff. But it's like, damn, man. Microsoft really knows how to, like, kind of stab their fans in the back, and that's the kind of point that I was trying to make. And I know a lot of people, don't really care. It just kind of is what it is. Game Pass is the future. You are an extremist, according to this person. So Game Pass is the future, but yet people are not buying an Xbox and rather buy these games that they want at full price, but it's the future. I don't agree with that being the future. Do you not understand that if you look at the games, like I said before, look at Gears of War 5, and as you guys all come in here, please hit the like button if you enjoy some truth for a goddamn change, right? Everybody else is too piss poor and too afraid to tell anybody the truth nowadays, and it ticks me off because, you know, you can't say anything anymore on YouTube. It's ridiculous, but it's a fact. You can't say much. But I can still be pissed off and tell you that the truth of the matter is Game Pass makes Microsoft fundamentally change their goddamn games, right? They fundamentally changed Forza. Forza Horizon 3 is the best racing game in the history of games. In the history of racing games, right? That game could have won Game of the Year. It was so damn good. Then you go to Forza Horizon 4, and that game totally removed what gave Forza Horizon 3 its soul. And they made it a games as a service with silly dances and silly avatars and winning silly, stupid stuff with, like, doing, like Fortnited it up or whatever, like daily things and weekly things. They really took the soul out of that. And I'm not saying it's a terrible game, but they took the soul away from it. They took the soul away from Gears of War 5. Why? Hey, you like the curb stomp, right? You used to be able to do that in the other Gears games for free, but now we're charging you $5 for that particular animation. Like, okay, we're going to charge you $20 for this skin, $8 for this skin, $25 for this, right? Like, they nickel and dime you. That's stuff that phone games do for free. Like, do people really want that? Do you want that type of content where you have to pay $60 for a game because you want to own a game, and then they nickel and dime you for another $100 or more in transactions for crap that should be free included in the price? Now, you might say, I only paid $1 for Game Pass, but how long is that going to hold up? Are you going to continue to pay for Game Pass when it's back to $15 and your subscription runs out? I sure as hell am not doing that. Like, why would anybody do that? It's killing the content. Wait till Halo Infinite comes out, right? I can only imagine the types of microtransactions that game's going to have. That game is going to have so many microtransactions. You might not. Who knows? Yeah, they might even charge you to do something that was free in every other Halo game. Can you say that it's not going to have dailies or weeklies or something along those lines? They already almost ruined Halo with the last one, right? Now, I'm not saying that it's for sure going to be this way, but do I trust Microsoft with Halo? No. Do I trust Microsoft with Fable? No. Look, a lot of people will go, Outer Worlds, that should be a feather in the cap for Microsoft Game Studios, right? It scored 80-something. It's in the running for Game of the Year. It's not going to win it, but it's in the running, and people are like, that's a feather in the cap for Microsoft. Is it, though? Is that a feather in the cap for Microsoft? Hell no, it's not a feather in the cap for Microsoft. You know why? Because Microsoft would have never greenlit that to begin with. First of all, it's a game with no microtransactions, and it's not a games as a service. Phil Spencer thinks that single-player games can only survive in Game Pass, right? He said that. Single-player games can only survive thanks to Game Pass. Well, Nintendo would like to have a word with you, Mr. Spencer. Sony would like to have a word with you, Mr. Spencer. If you actually put out a decent freaking single-player game, people will support it. People will buy it. People will flock to it. People have been begging you for this type of content for years. Zelda sells, 15 million copies. Mario sells 15 million copies. Horizon Zero Dawn sold 15 million copies. God of War, 15 million copies. The Last of Us, 20 million copies. Uncharted 4, 17 million copies. Games can sell. If you put out a great freaking game, it can sell, and it can support itself. So that's another part of the Phil Spencer puzzle where people will still back this guy like he's the Pope or something. They'll throw themselves in front of any kind of thing that people throw at Phil Spencer. I see it every day on Twitter. I see it every day on YouTube, and I'm tired of it, okay? Like, everybody wants to martyr themselves for Phil Spencer like he's done something great for Xbox. The only thing he's done for Xbox is make the console totally pointless and redundant and take it from being a hardcore machine to the laughingstock machine, the casual machine, because he doesn't care where you play, what you play, on any device you play. You know what I'm saying? The guy is a chode, and he doesn't know what he's doing. He would be a fine boss at EA, right? Because that's a third-party company. They make third-party games for everything. He has such a third-party mentality that it's sickening. He doesn't realize, or he realizes, he just doesn't care that exclusives sell. Again, he puts exclusives on PC. He'll put exclusives on xCloud, but he won't put exclusives on his damn console, right? So why? Again, free-to-play on Xbox. The only time something's not free-to-play, because we're the only suckers that have to pay to play free-to-play games. You want to play Fortnite on Nintendo? You don't have to pay online for that. You want to play Fortnite on PC? You don't have to pay online for that. You want to play Fortnite on PlayStation? You don't have to pay online for that. Nobody wants to talk about this, though. It's like everybody wants to pretend that Microsoft is so friendly and consumer-friendly. And, again, if they were so consumer friendly, why are we paying $60 a year to play Fortnite? Okay, that to me is the most anti-consumer thing you can talk about. They can talk up their services or whatever or their options, but the fact of the matter is they've ruined their big AAA games by casualizing them, by having so many microtransactions. You're talking about $1 trillion company. Why are they the only ones putting so many microtransactions as a first party? I'm not saying that there's no other games with microtransactions. I'm saying they're the first party that's doing it. They're the most egregious doing it. Why isn't Sony and Nintendo following suit? Thank God they haven't. You know what I mean? I think that's terrible. I think what Microsoft does and what they get away, they deserve the criticism for this crap. They deserve it. And again, apologies for some of the cussing and the ranting today, but you see some of this stuff and you just kind of shake your head at it or whatever. And again, I really do kind of get pissed off about it. You know what I'm saying? It's just one of those things, Listen, man, I'm not disagreeing. Kenta, listen, you can have a different opinion than me, and that's fine. I 100% respect that. I'm not here to knock your opinion. I'm not really knocking anybody else's opinion either. What I'm saying is, this is how I see things. I don't see how other people aren't seeing them as well. And if you're really out there, like, if you're okay with getting lied, I don't like being bullshitted. Is my big problem, right? And maybe I've done my fair share of damage control for Xbox. I fully admit that. I was a huge Xbox fanboy. It wasn't for any particular reason besides that I believed in what they were doing. Later on, once I put down the fanboy goggles and started playing these PlayStation games, these Nintendo games, I started to realize how bad the Xbox games were. That's why throwing up a review I did to an Xbox game at launch has no effect on me. It doesn't make me a hypocrite because I didn't have anything to judge that with, right? It's like, it's like if you only have sex with one partner your whole life, how can you compare that to anything else, right? So basically, I'd only played these Xbox games for the most part, and I didn't have anything to compare it with. But when you compare, I remember people going, Rise, Son of Rome is such a good game, and it was good at the launch, it was okay. But people that actually compared that to God of War when God of War came out, and it was the biggest laugh my ass off moment that I've ever had in my life because it's like at opposite ends of the spectrum. God of War is the most quality game, the best game I've ever played, and when you go back and look at Rise and play Rise, it's almost like it was made like sure it had some good-looking graphics, but it was like almost made by an indie studio or something. It just didn't compare in any way. So again, you can just tell that there's this huge quality difference. There's this huge buffer difference. There's this huge, vast difference. There's this gulf of difference between the content. Even Nintendo, right? Nintendo's released a ton of games. Nintendo didn't get the credit that they deserved this year. Stuff like Astral Chain and, what is it, Luigi's Mansion 3. And, they've released so many great games. Mario Maker 2. They really are showing these first parties how you're supposed to release your games, right? You're supposed to release plenty of games for your consumers. The fact of the matter is, Microsoft has done nothing but crap on us for years, and people still are okay with it. People still defend it and say it's okay. It's like, how is that okay, man? As they get hundreds of dollars pouring in, okay? How is that okay? That's the question I would say to ask yourself while you're watching or doing whatever. And I'm not knocking anyone's hustle, but, I got to say, and I brought this up on Twitter and people were like, okay, I was so accepting of mediocrity in my life, right? Even my football team, they won the Super Bowl in 2012. I'm a Ravens fan. Obviously, they're doing great again. I was, okay, well, they made the playoffs at least. Oh, well, they won 7 games. That's okay. Being an Xbox fan this generation has kind of been like that just in my life. You just kind of accept that media. So many people want to accept mediocrity, and I think that sucks. If you're in life or whatever, and you're not where you want to be or whatever, don't accept mediocrity. If you're not happy with your team, or if it's okay to complain, man. I mean, look, sports radio does it all the time. If you're not happy with what Xbox is doing, it doesn't make you a whiner. It doesn't make you an extremist or a fearmonger to complain. It makes you smart. It actually empowers you, and it's actually a very smart thing, because if these companies, if these owners, if these people don't know that you're unhappy, then they're never going to change what they do. There's never going to be any changes for anyone, and we're going to be stuck with the same crap that we're always stuck with. Now listen, Maybe some of those games are going to be good. I don't know. But I can tell you this. What the hell is the point of buying an Xbox Scarlet if the games you're going to be playing is Bleeding Edge, Battletoads, Flight Simulator, you know what I'm saying? Ori, I think Ori 2 is going to be a good game, but it's certainly not going to need an 8K or a 4K console, is it? Like, when you think about what the PlayStation 5 is going to have, a new God of War, a new Spider-Man, you probably start to salivate like I do. I would love to see those in 60 frames 4K, right? Those are amazing looking games. They're going to take full advantage of PlayStation's games. Now, when you look at what Microsoft is doing, can you honestly say that there's going to be a game that's going to take full advantage of what Microsoft is doing? Microsoft is still going to be putting out games on the base Xbox One. The same games, they're just scaling it down. But at some point, don't the worlds got to be scaled? Aren't the worlds going to have to be smaller because of the memory and all this kind of issues? Like, I get game scaling, but at some point, even with PCs, there's a cutoff point. So you're going to have, maybe a 14 T-flop Xbox Scarlet and a 1.3 T-flop Xbox One with that terrible memory, right? Like, at some point, there's got to be a cutoff, right? Like, at some point, this is going to affect the games that we get. Right? This is probably why, what was it? There was Scarlet, and then there was that other one. I forget what the hell the other one was called. Lockhart. Like, isn't this the reason why Lockhart got canceled? Because developers were having a problem developing for that and the Scarlet and taking advantage of Scarlet. Like, does nobody think about this stuff? Okay? Well, when you look at Sony, right? When you look at Sony and you see Sony and they're like, we want people to transfer from the PS4 to the PS5 faster than they've ever done before, okay? Faster than they've ever done before. Why would you do that? How would you get people to switch from a PS4 to the PS5? By putting exclusives on the PS5 that you can't play on the PS4. If Microsoft is putting everything, even Halo Infinite, on the base Xbox One, and you can even play online with people against Scarlet, with people against the X, on xCloud, whatever, then what the hell is the point in buying the new console? Okay, there's no reason. All this stuff is so kiddie. All this stuff is so, it makes absolutely no sense. Okay, like, oh, George Rivera, hopefully you're being facetious and you didn't want to, and you didn't want, you can't wait to play Battletoads, man. That's bad. I'm sorry, but Battletoads looks like crap. Hold on. Dave GX says Lockhart didn't get canceled. According to Phil, it can still happen. Well, according to him, what? He said there was no there was none. So, I mean, are you really going to go and, it's called an ecosystem, is it? So when you go into a store and you're like, yeah, hook me up with an Xbox One X or a Xbox One or a SAT edition or an S or a Scarlet or a Lockhart or a xCloud machine, right? Like, and you don't think that's confusing? Like, again, I get ecosystems, right? But do you not see that the way that Sony does it is much better? That's such a much better thing to me. Ricardo says stop complaining or stop comparing Xbox with PlayStation. Xbox is going into a different, I think you're saying different directions, which you could be right. You could be right. J-Love, I appreciate it, man. Steam is Xbox ecosystem. Nope. Jez, that's what's up. Grind my gears, man. I appreciate you coming out. That's exactly my point. I pointed this out earlier. Gears of War, the reason why, like, you remember, who was it? Matt Booty, the head of Xbox Game Studios, did an interview with Game Informer, and he talked about giving his games, some of them not going to other platforms and stuff like that. He didn't mention Gears because Gears is on another platform. It's on Steam. Okay, now Steam is to Xbox, Steam is to Windows Store what Xbox is to PlayStation. It's a completely different platform. Microsoft doesn't own PC, okay? They own an operating system. They don't own Steam, all right? This is what I'm trying to tell you. That's a multi-plat. Like, you can even say Microsoft exclusive to a point, but when it comes to these games coming out, and you see that it's coming out on Steam, and you see that it's coming out on the Windows Store, and you see that it's coming out on Xbox. Like, Phil Spencer literally wants his games everywhere. He said so. He even wants his games on Stadia. He wants Xbox Game Pass. Do you guys honestly think, with this announcement of xCloud being used on Game Pass, that doesn't have any significance? You could be seeing streaming xCloud Game Pass, or Game Pass through xCloud on a PlayStation 5, on a Nintendo Switch, on a Stadia. This is stuff that's going to happen or could happen, right? I'm not like, quote unquote, fear-mongering, but that's stuff that could happen. How does that help us as gamers want to get a Scarlet? I'm just saying. Let's see. Gunplay says, hey guys, I'm a gamer. Xbox putting exclusives on a streaming service instead of my box that's dying for exclusives is great. Exactly. That's my point. Like, do you guys not understand that? How can you not be pissed off about that? How can you guys be such suckers and continually fall for all these different types of situations where people are like, hey man, not having exclusives is great, right? Like, not having exclusives isn't great, okay? Exclusives are the reason we get these consoles to begin with, and I'm not saying that, that we all should do one thing or the other. I'm just saying that, to me anyway, the fact that Microsoft has kind of like slapped us in the face repeatedly, and so many people are still like, this is awesome. Again, I hearken back to, I see people on Twitter, on social media, go, look how great xCloud is. It's so amazing. Here I am playing it at my house on this little table set up at my house. Here I am playing it when I could be playing my X or my PC at 4K or whatever, but screw that, because Microsoft is bringing us this 4.5-inch screen that's not optimized, and I can play it on this, right? Like, people are legitimately sticking up for this as like a way to, like, screw 8K, let's play 4.5-inch screen, right? Like, that's the wave of the future. Like, get out of here. That stuff is so annoying. You really want to impress me? Show me you playing that stuff on a bus or in a plane or on a train, okay? I guarantee you it's not going to be that same kind of experience, right? Like, everybody just goes out of their way to make Xbox look so damn good. And at the end of the day, it just makes you laugh. It's utterly ridiculous, okay? And that's pretty much, when it comes to Microsoft, some of the reasons why I've been kind of pissed off. They just don't seem to learn, and they don't seem to listen to the hardcore fan base. And the fact that so many people don't even realize or don't care that the only games they're announcing are like these little AA's. And even this guy, when he talks about putting exclusives on xCloud, for crying out loud, says it takes 18 months to 2 years to make games. You know what kind of game takes 18 months to 2 years to make? AA games, single A games. They're certainly not AAA games. So what's the purpose? Are these studios that they're hiring, are these people only out there to do, a certain type of game? Are they only out there to sort of do, these Game Pass filler games like Battletoads and Bleeding Edge? Like, those games do not look good. They don't look fun. Yeah. I really just don't understand the type of people that continually damage control these types of situations. For me personally, man, I'm kind of fed up with it. I can't get behind it. I can't back it. I can't sit there and go, oh, it's okay, because it's not okay. I really just think that streaming and this stuff just isn't really for me. And I get that not everything for me has to be specifically for me. If you guys like it, I think that's fine. I'm just saying, how in the world can people be okay with no exclusives on your console and preach that to your fans or preach that to each other? Like, get out of here, man. The day that there's not exclusive content, whether it be console exclusive or whatever, there's not even a point to game. You know what I mean? Like, you need stuff to take advantage of it. When are we going to get these type of games on Xbox? When are we going to get these type of games? When are we going to get these type of games that are going to take advantage of it? Like, the next Fable could be a really good game, but it's probably just going to look like Fable, which isn't exactly graphically demanding. Of course, the next Forza games are going to look good because Forza games look good. When are we going to start to see this kind of stuff? Like, really great-looking, realistic games, right? Like, just absolutely cannot believe that people are okay with this. This is a baffling situation to me, and I guess it just kind of is what it is. I guess I apologize for the rant. It just sort of gets frustrating or whatever as a fan. So Listen, I'm not like Everwild looks fine to me, but again, that's in pre-production. When are we going to see something on it? I think that's going to be a problem. Straight Duvall says you always comparing current gen AA titles to next gen AAA Sony games, dude. Sony still has Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us 2, Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think that they have a lot more going. Hey, and if you guys are just coming here, man, listen, show some support. Like the video, please. Hit the bell, subscribe, do something. If listen, I'm not getting into beef with anybody, but I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be giving my opinion, my truth on how I feel about the industry, and I feel like I got away from that a little bit. TLR9, I appreciate it. You guys got some questions, I appreciate it. If you guys can go ahead and ask. Listen, I think that, like I said, I think Microsoft, they are after a certain type of gamer, and it's not me. It's not me. I'm not saying that, like, listen, I can play the next Halo on my X, and I'm fine with that, right? Isn't that a problem? Isn't that a problem that so many people are interested in the PS5? Even in surveys and stuff, like something like 70% of people are more looking forward to the PS5 than the next Xbox. And the reason why is exclusive content. Exclusive content is what matters. Exclusive content is why people buy these things. So I don't understand why people would sit there and kind of disagree with me or say or call me a fearmonger or whatever. Listen, you tell these people, you tell your favorite Xbot, and I don't mean Xbot the guy, because me and him are friends, but you tell your favorite Xbot, man, why don't you get somebody up there that's going to disagree with you and put you in your place? I will make these people look silly on their own shows. That's a promise. My DMs are open. Anybody that wants me to go on their show, I'll go on their damn show. But they're going to look foolish by the end of their show. They're going to look foolish, and I'm going to have a lot of their subs on my channel after that. So I wouldn't expect anybody to want to invite me on their show, because I've left that door open for months now, and nobody's had the balls to step up. So, yeah, that's just the way it is. Holomoko says, don't apologize. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Microsoft realized this generation that they simply can't compete with PlayStation in terms of quality, so they could either pivot to casuals or get out of the console market, and they had pivoted. I agree 100%. One Typical says, you signed in that Sony contract. Listen, man, I'm getting a PS5, right? If Microsoft would really have to show me something incredible to get me to get that, to buy into anything that they're doing, right? They would have to show me a lot of They would have to show me stuff, AAA stuff after AAA stuff, realistic looking things. They would have to show me some really incredible looking things. Mr. Twister says, shout out crap, Xbox leg breaker. Yeah. Well, I'm just, there comes a point, I think, where everybody gets ticked off and a little bit frustrated with this stuff, right? Like, man, just you've got to like stop, like you hear it, like, and I'm waiting for people to damage control this. People damage controlled Gears 5. Okay, and then they look at Phil Spencer, who says the most cryptic thing of all, we're happy with Gears 5. It outsold Gears 4. But he doesn't mention outsold what? Outsold overall? Is he talking about players? Is he talking, like, what's he talking about? Like, he's so cryptic, and Xbox fanboys act like they get the win from that, right? Like, oh my God, he just put people like Crapgamer in his place who said that Gears flopped. Well, listen, no other Gears has come in at 7th on the NPD. That's the lowest it's ever happened. And then it totally went out of the top 20 the following months. No, that's never happened to another Gears game. Okay? Not only that, but it's almost out of the top 30 most played games. Even though there's no tracker on telling us how many people were playing, we know that more people are playing Madden 18. That's Madden from years ago. And I can't imagine there's a ton of people playing that. Right? So it's absolutely ridiculous. Would you rather have an awesome graphical game with average gameplay or an awesome game with average graphics? I would say awesome game with average graphics. I believe Sony will have a ton of new exclusives. Sony's going to have so many new exclusives, it's going to be crazy, you guys. 100%, I would say, believe it. Hey, guys, I'm going to be on Zaire's channel this Saturday. Look for that. I might even stop by Crossfire tonight. If you guys want to see some more ranting and stuff, I might even be on Crossfire, so we'll see how it goes. Would it feel? It's not just necessarily Phil, Chris, but they announced that xCloud is going to be getting its own exclusives, right? Exclusives that aren't on Microsoft's other platforms like it's not going to be on other platforms like the Xbox console or whatever, which I always thought was weird. Okay, so if you look at this, even though I didn't want to play this game, it was the principle of the matter that pissed me off. You guys remember that Forza Street game? You probably don't, but it was this game that came out on mobile. JD says exclusive content is not why people originally bought the PS3 or PS4. Traditionally, Sony launches their PS consoles with indie and second-tier games. Listen, the PS3 sold abysmal at first. It wasn't until they started coming out with exclusives. I know because I bought a PS3 for $599, and it took them years. I played PS2 games on it for years, and then they really started coming out with some amazing games on it and much better exclusives. Microsoft stopped making exclusives, I think, in 2010. New exclusives and stuff like that. That was like the last, like they would come out with like Halo and Forza and stuff, but realistically 2010 was the last hurrah for the 360, whereas the PlayStation 3 was just picking up more and more steam, and they would come out with exclusive after exclusive, and so that's why they would do so well. Yeah, I'll stop by Crossfire tonight, and we'll see how it goes down. The thing is, man, I don't want to get into arguments with J-Dubs and Mooch about this Stadia crap. Those guys just plug Stadia so much. It's absolutely crazy. But, yeah, it's like, for me personally, like I said, seeing what's happening with Microsoft lately kind of sets me on nerve. And then the way that people just continually make excuses for Microsoft and Phil. Like, how do you turn this into a good thing? How do you turn Gears not getting any new information about it, right? If Gears had really done well, they would have announced the player numbers at XO, right? They would have said 5 million or 6 million, and even then, I don't think it would have been a big deal because they're giving it away for $1, okay? And I just feel like it's kind of ingenuine the way that things have kind of happened with like Phil Spencer and everybody. By the way, hit the like button. I appreciate it. You guys have been great. Hold on. JD says the reason why most people originally bought a PS3 was a Blu-ray player and the PS4 was a cheaper option with more power. Well, listen, it was a cheaper option. Microsoft also was being very anti-consumer, and I bought an Xbox One just for the games, right? Like, I want to go where the games are. Microsoft had better games at launch, so I bought one. Sony really came around, and every year since has really released a high number of quality games, and I really, really enjoy that. When it comes to next gen, I know Sony's going to deliver great games because they've done it so many times before. Microsoft pretty much has abandoned gamers this entire generation, right? We've gotten lackluster content, so I don't believe that they're going to be able to do... yeah, Daniel B says J-Dub has two 2080 Ti and he's still playing Stadia. Yeah, I mean, look, it's new, so I guess people, and Mooch too, but, they'll be back on console in no time or whatever. So Matthew B says by the time next gen arrives, Microsoft will have 60 million consoles to sell and 15 to 20 million Game Pass subs, and they launch quadruple AAA titles with over 40 projects to go, the most power. Well, are you sure about that? I mean, I don't think that they're going to have... First of all, like I said, their subs could be 9 million right now. But how many of those are going to pay $15 a month when that $1 deal runs out, right? Or like when their deal... Like people like me. My gold runs out in 2022. And at the same time, I'm not going to re-up after that. So what happened was I had Xbox Live Gold through 2022. And they did a deal where $1 converts your remaining gold to Ultimate Game Pass. So I paid $1. I will never pay $10 or $15 a month for Game Pass. Mr. Twister says, I think Sony will surprise big time in February. A lot of PS5 exclusives in work, I believe. You see Sony suits very confident on Twitter. Sony's already won next generation, right? Like, even if you like Xbox, even if you think Xbox is in a good spot, their launch games just aren't that impressive. Look at the stuff. Like, they think next year that they have a good lineup of games. They're like, we're very confident. We've got so many games. We're not afraid to announce stuff now because we know we're doing great. And then you look at it and it's like Bleeding Edge, Battletoads, Flight Simulator, what the hell else? Grounded. Like, these games, I don't know what their definition of great is, but, God of War, that's great. You know what I mean? Spider-Man, Uncharted, those are great Like, not having a big AAA game until the launch of the next console, and the last Halo, it's so suspect, that Halo. Like, maybe it'll be great. Like, I hope that it's great. But after the last Halo, I'm just kind of confused as to if that's going to be a great Halo. Like, that's going to be a real big problem. Let me see. I have a PC and Switch. Why do I need to buy an Xbox? You don't need to buy an Xbox. That's the truth of the matter, to be honest with you. Hell, have a phone. Play it on a 3.5-inch screen. That's what it's all about. JD Gamer says 75% of digital subscribers stay subscribed. To what, though? To what, though? Right? They stay subscribed to what? Like, I canceled my subscriptions to different things because I don't use them anymore. Right? I'm not staying subscribed to Game Pass. Like, who would stay subscribed to Game Pass this upcoming year? There's not a AAA game for a whole year. You're not getting a AAA game for an entire year. Who would stay subscribed to that? Let me see. God of War plays. Listen, who is most? I think that Sony is the most consumer friendly because they listen to the consumers. Microsoft kind of hypes themselves up as being super consumer friendly, and then at the end of the day, I don't really think they are. You know what I mean? White Knight 5 says Xbox is the best it's ever been. Nothing but haters here. Wait, how is Xbox the best it's ever been? Please enlighten me, my friend. How is Xbox the best it's ever been? When's our next AAA exclusive? How did Gears 5 do? How come nobody's on Gears 5? How come they're charging microtransactions out the ass for animations that should be free in a game? Why? You know? TLR9 says Days Gone 2, Horizon Zero Dawn 2, Spider-Man 2, God of War 2, New Uncharted, GOS, I don't know what that is, but they also are going to launch with a new Gran Turismo supposedly, and other stuff, and they're going to have new IP. Naughty Dog supposedly working on a new IP. I think that they're going to be fine. I think they're going to have so many games. Half Pint says, I paid $2 for 2 months to play Gears 5, canceled immediately. Yep, exactly. So many people are doing that. JD, which I appreciate you stopping by, JD. I don't mind talking about this stuff or like kind of having an open dialogue. I think it's fine. He says that's an industry standard for digital subscription. That's why all these companies are chasing subs. Listen, they're chasing this Netflix amount of subscribers, but Netflix has 140 million subs, and not even PlayStation 4 has that many consoles out to get that many subs. So it's kind of redundant, right? And again, if you look at Netflix's business, they're losing more and more content to Disney and these other places, and they're in the red. They're losing billions of dollars because they constantly need to come out with content. It doesn't work as well as making people double dip. And again, JD, I don't know if you heard me this entire time. Phil Spencer keeps comparing it to Netflix, but why not compare it to what Disney Plus, since Disney Plus has other means because they release full-on movies, okay, in theaters. Okay, you're not going to see Rise of Skywalker or Black Panther 2 or the next Spider-Man movie day and date in Disney Plus. Why not? Because they want to make that $1 billion+ from the movie theater, and then also make people double dip to keep paying that subscription to watch it later at their home. That they're making people. That's a smart business decision. Sony, smart business decision. Sell 15, 20 million copies of Last of Us 2. A year later, put it in PlayStation Now, and then get the cheaper gamers, the budget gamers, right? That's that's a special IP, like Gears of War used to be, like Halo used to be. You don't lump it in at the dollar store, bro. It's like going into the Dollar Tree and you see Gears of War there. It doesn't make sense. It makes you think of something of lesser quality. And I'm sorry, that's how I feel. You might not feel that way. That's just how I feel about it, okay? That's just me personally. Hopefully you guys, hopefully you guys can understand what I'm trying to say. Hopefully you guys can do that. New Fable could be good. We'll see in 2022 or 2023. Matthew B says, so you have to let Microsoft know their business. They don't care if people like me are saying their business decisions are wrong, right? They don't care. JD Gamer says, I refute that with The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian isn't a movie. It's a TV show. But I'm talking about movies. They're not going to release The Rise of Skywalker day and date on Disney Plus, bro. It's not happening because they want people to spend that $1 billion to go see it first. That's just the way it goes. Dollar Tree gaming, dude. It's exactly what I'm trying to talk about. Like, right? It's like you go into the Dollar Tree and you see, Gears of War next to Crackdown. I would believe Crackdown 3 or State of Decay being in Dollar Tree, right? You believe that shit, but when you see Gears, you're like, something must be wrong there, right? Like, that's how I look at it. Like, something must be wrong there. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. If you disagree with me, that's fine. I absolutely do not mind having a different opinion than you guys. I think it all comes down to our own opinions, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I am. If you guys have a different opinion than me, 100% okay with that. 100%. I think you guys are awesome, even if you have a different opinion. Dollar Tree Pass. That's what it is, man. You got Phil out there, Huckster Phil. Hey, pull on up, pay $1, play all of our games, and it really takes away from it. It really takes away from it. So, with that being said, you guys have been great today. I got a lot off my mind. I've been pissed off again. I'm sure some people will think that I had comments towards particular people in the industry on YouTube. It's not particular people. It's just seems like a lot of people are doing that, and just kind of I couldn't live with myself doing that. So, we'll see. Hopefully, there's no flack for having my opinion. Listen, it's been a great show. I'm gonna stop by Crossfire for a little bit as well. Hopefully you guys show up. Do I like 007? I've never played, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully you guys stick around and and like and share and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. Thank you guys so much for having a great time. Get us up to 150 likes. That would be amazing. Have a great day. Rack 'em up. CG out.